I got to play Shadow Labyrinth early at Summer Game Fest, which is a crazy new sci-fi take on Pac-Man. At the Game Awards last December, they announced the game Shadow Labyrinth that was seen in Secret Level, Prime Video's adult animated anthology series. It's a setting for the 2D action platformer where players must consume to survive on an alien hostile world. The game is obviously a broader departure from many of the previous Pac-Man games, where you take on the role of another character as the protagonist, who's known as Swordsman Number 8. So they took the Pac-Man concept and just ran with it, where you consume all the bad guys. So as I jumped into the game, I got the chance to learn some of the basic controls. As you can see, Pac-Man himself is floating around Swordsman Number 8. You can jump up against walls and munch along just like Pac-Man normally does in all the previous games and eat away at the edges, but you use those as rails to traverse the levels. If you like this video, don't forget to click that like button. It really does help my channel a lot, and also hit subscribe if you want to see all my videos. You use sword play like you would in Castlevania Symphony of the Night or any of the other Metroidvania games that use sword play. And then of course there is the ability to eat the enemies that you kill, which is really cool. There are various sections of the game where I found a bit of a challenge, like this part right here where I kept getting hit by these spinning blades, but I didn't realize at first that you could stop yourself right where you are to better set up your jump to the next area. And just like other Metroidvania games, as you go along, you are locked into staying in a certain area until you get certain power-ups and abilities. It's filled with great little boss fights and sub-bosses, and as you can see, you can transform into a big crazy version of Pac-Man who can consume enemies. It's one of the key elements that recharges you as you go, and there are all kinds of special skills and attacks. The demo that you're seeing right now is shown on the PS5, but I played it on the actual Switch 2. So this isn't my actual gameplay, but it is exactly the same areas that I played through, plus some extras that aren't even shown in this demo. The controls are really fluid, and it's really cool seeing how the save points work. It's all very similar to games like Metroid Dread or others that are like it. There's so much that still needs to be seen and unlocked for me to really get an idea of all the elements, but I also got to the point of fighting this big boss near the end of the demo. This big crazy creature with a big horn for a head. And then this little section through these caves, those are actually characters from Dig Dug, I guess. I don't remember, it's been so long, but instead of doing the standard sword attacks, you actually blow them up by inflating them and then making them explode. So there are all kinds of different gameplay elements that are involved in this game that aren't just the sword slashing and standard things. So it's obviously still just a tiny little taste of what's possible in the game. One of the coolest things about it is that I actually got to play it on the Switch 2. It was a Switch 2 Pro controller and a TV with it plugged in, but it was actually running on a Switch 2. So it was cool to see that the graphics were super solid and clean. And it's nice to see that we're at the cusp of a lot of Switch 2 games becoming a standard thing in all of gaming. My introduction to the Metroidvania type games was Castlevania Symphony of the Night back on PlayStation 1. I was obsessed with that game for a while, and I just love the concept of those huge open world maps where you can go anywhere. And I just saw like a snippet of Shadow Labyrinth's map, and the guy who was showing me the demo was saying that that is literally just like a tiny little fraction and that it's massive. The game draws even wider inspiration for story and settings from Bandai Namco's broader library of beloved arcade games, like Dig Dug, for example, in that little section. The astute fans will find the early hints of connections to their iconic games in the reveal trailer. So if you're a big fan of a lot of the older games and you just look a little closer at that trailer, you will see stuff that you recognize from the Bandai Namco overworld. The initial vibe of it is really cool. I wouldn't say it's on the same level as something like Metroid Dread, but that is not to say that it's not a really well polished game so far. I believe he said it's about a 30-hour game, because I asked specifically how long it is. And a 30-hour game for a lower price point on the Switch 2. A lot of people are upset about prices of Switch 2 games. We have a great game to look forward to that is $29.99. I'm hoping that it feels like a lot more value than the $30 price tag that's attached to it, and I have a feeling it will be. The game will be out on July 18th, 2025, so we don't have to wait too long. It's pretty much in the launch window of the Switch 2, although it is coming out on everything. So, but it is definitely the type of game I'm going to want to take on the go on my Switch 2, 100%. So those are my first impressions of Shadow Labyrinth. If you guys have anything you want to add, or you're curious about, or you just want to chat about it, let's talk about it in the comments down below. There is so much to talk about this game and many of the other games. And also, if you want to see all the other coverage of all the other games that I got first impressions of at Summer Game Fest Playdays, you can click the link in the description below. That is it for today's video, though. Thank you so much for watching. Go try something new. I'll see you soon on GameList Plus.